So if you want to eat too much watermelon, okay? A couple of things happen when you're eating too much watermelon. Keep in mind, it's a fecal matter softening agent, just like I just talked about. It could be quickly moving some fecal matter away, softening it, okay? And when it does that, now you're getting other material right on the base of the small intestinal tract. Some people have something that's hard. It's hard and clay-like at the bottom of their stomach. So there's this like right at the bottom of the stomach, okay? Right here before it goes down to the duodenum. A lot of people have this little divot where that stomach is. So let's talk about that for a second too. Let's see if I can get the stomach out without this whole thing just falling apart and falling on top of my watermelon, which I don't know. I don't like that. Okay. All right, so we got a stomach here. So at the bottom of the stomach, keep in mind, all right, at the bottom of the stomach is going to be this little spot where there's a divot, where there is a crater. That spot is there for people who have overeaten for too many years. I'm guilty of overeating. I'm guilty of overeating sometimes. If I'm like really hungry and it's really good food, I'll push it to the limit. But it's a lot of people overeat many times in their life. Maybe not anymore. Maybe they did it 10 years ago. Maybe they overate 20 years ago. But either way, there becomes this pouch at the bottom of the stomach. The pouch, okay, makes kind of like a spot where stuff can collect that doesn't get emptied. And it becomes like a clay at the bottom of the stomach. And that doesn't get emptied. Now you're eating too much watermelon. Say you're eating too much watermelon, and the watermelon is putting pressure on that clay spot, that divot, and it's loosening it up too. It's actually, which is not a bad thing, but either way, it's going to be really uncomfortable, and just even a little bit of it will be uncomfortable. Okay, so let's hit the next part of it. If you don't have that going on, then guess what? You might have something else going on. You might have low HCl. If you eat a lot of watermelon and you fill your entire stomach up and you stretch your stomach up and it's going like this. It's stretching, 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 okay? You're stretching your stomach, you're stretching it. It's getting like this because you're putting all that watermelon in and it's got nowhere to go yet, okay? What happens is as it's stretching, your HCl can't really work much anymore. It gets so diluted. You do need a little bit of HCl. You do. Even with watermelon. Watermelon's kind of a pre-digested kind of thing. When melons have a little bit of a pre-digested angle to it, but you still need a little bit of HCl. But what happens, you dilute your gastric juices to such a degree because you're putting so much watermelon in, because it's not like something else. At Thanksgiving, you have a turkey leg, right? Maybe a piece of a turkey leg. Maybe you have a little bit of turkey breast. But, you're not like, Thanksgiving's a bad example. I mean, people will just stuff themselves till they need a couch. And, a lot of people pop their guts on Thanksgiving too, where they're in the emergency room because they literally pop their guts, like, hernias and there's, everything else, because they eat so much and they have all that cranberry sauce on top of it and that pumpkin pie on top of their, and the stuffing and everything else, right? Anyway, the point is when you're doing, get me back on track, please, quick. And then what happens is you're stretching the stomach is what you're doing. You're eating a lot of watermelon. It's got nowhere to go, so it pushes down into the duodenum, and now the duodenum is stretching and filled, and your stomach's filled. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm getting a bellyache from eating too much watermelon at once. And then the top of your small intestinal tract is going to be getting stretched and filled too. The small intestinal tract behind this colon right here, that's going to be stretching out, and that's going to be filled. So now you got pressure on your small intestinal tract and your duodenum and your stomach because you're able to consume so much watermelon at one time, and you can't help it. It tastes so good. You can't help it. So you're eating it all at one time. That's a reason all on its own. There's other reasons too. Of history, long time history, is eating all that heavy fat and all that heavy, protein and fat and all that intense food, and then you're dropping a watermelon on top, and the watermelon's sitting on top of all that, and it's fermenting, and that's what people don't realize. It's going to sit, and it's going to be stuck, and it's going to want to push. Watermelon is similar to papaya. It is a pusher. That's what it is. It is a pusher. So what happens when you're dealing with pushers, like this incredible fruit right here, it's going to want to push everything down, but everything's going to be stuck because your ribs and your chicken and your meat, or maybe you're just maybe you're vegan and it's some high fatty nut pie of some kind. It's just going to be stuck. And the watermelon's going to sit on top and it's going to be waiting. And as it's waiting, it's going to kind of bubble up. Chemical compounds that have a softening agent for hard, packed fecal matter. It's got a softening agent built inside of it, phytochemical compounds that actually start to soften hard, packed fecal matter that is 50 years old, 20 years old, 10 years old, 40 years old, 5 years old. Hard, packed fecal matter, okay? So in our intestinal tract, what happens over the years because of all the stuff we're eating, all the intense gluten, all the intense undigested protein, all the intense fats that go rancid and solidify and become packed on the sides of the intestinal tract, all those things, including other stuff too, that gets caught in elbows. Whole watermelon in a day, probably a little too much for one day. Definitely a little too much for one day. Because you want to pace yourself when you're loosening that stuff, that fecal matter that's trapped. You want to pace yourself because under there, under that fecal matter lies an old dirty secret, or lies things that are under there. And what's under there is bacteria. That's right. All the bacteria sitting behind that fecal matter. And you're doing watermelon to heal. You want to soften up that fecal matter and get it out. But all the bugs, many of them, lots of bacteria, sit underneath that fecal matter and are impacted in there, in that fecal matter, okay? So what happens if you want to do a lot of watermelon and you're just living off of watermelon, what could happen is you could have a blowout. So then you're softening up all the fecal matter, you're softening it, softening, it's starting to break free, and then they come out right there. They come out. And your immune system might be already kind of weakened, already struggling for all kinds of reasons, and they come out. So what you do is you pace yourself with watermelon. You don't live off watermelon unless it's the only food you have. If it's the only food you got, yeah, live off of it. Survive, live off of it. It's a healing food, without a doubt. But you want to pace yourself, so you don't want to be cranking that watermelon to the point where you're living off of it every single day. You're eating a whole watermelon every day, and that's all you're eating. Hey, I want to do a watermelon cleanse. You know, you got to be careful, because what's going to happen is you're going to break free a lot of stuff. You're going to overwhelm your immune system. It's not going to be able to keep track of all that loosened, jarred bacteria, and then you might get some bloating, some cramping, some distension. You might get some of that when you're doing that kind of watermelon. You know, you're doing watermelon, whole watermelon every single day. You might get that bloating and that distension because you're breaking free that strep and that E. coli and that C. diff. And watermelon has the ability to do a flushing agent, like a flushing action, where it flushes out a lot of that. So it's flushing out the fecal matter, right? But it's a lot of bacteria that a lot of people have deep inside of them, a lot of it. And so you want to pace yourself. You want to eat a little bit of watermelon every day. How about that? When watermelon season hits, you eat a little bit of watermelon every day. That's how you do it. That's the best way to do it. So you